Geico presents Our Town, Season 2, a 30-minute podcast produced by Best Bart Communications, a small but fierce client-centered marketing company powered by decades of experience and well-established business networks. Geico, 15 minutes can save you 15% or more on car insurance. Now, here's your host, Andy Ockershausen.
What a great opportunity for you in our town to hear about the voice of the Washington Redskins, who's going to be now a voice of the Washington Redskins on WML. Thank you. A very dear friend and a big man in broadcasting in our town. Larry Michael, welcome to our town.
Hi, buddy. How you doing?
Larry, we've had such a great time with you. I look about all the stuff you've done, and I can't believe it until I've seen it and read about it. You have been involved in so much, but you never left town.
Never did. And one of my highlights was working with you.
Larry, the good old days.
The telethon.
Oh, boy. The good old days are now,
Wow.
Larry. But I read so much about you, but I
Got a
didn't
lot of
read
notes there, don't you?
anything about you until I talked to you about your beginning in our town. Your family moved here from Chicago.
Yeah, I was born in Chicago. My parents were from Sparta, Greece. In fact, my brother was born in Greece. Spartans, yes, 100%. And then from Chicago, they moved to D.C., Southeast D.C. when I was 2. So there is a picture of me in a Cubs shirt as a baby, but that's it. You know, D.C. from then on. And then a year after that, they moved to Silver Spring, Maryland, Four Corners area, Silver Spring, and I lived there, grew up there. I consider Silver Spring my hometown, really, but I was born in Chicago.
But that's still our town. Silver Spring is our town.
I think so.
Annapolis is our town.
I think
Everything is within, what do you got, about 8 million people in our big broadcast schedule.
Yeah,
Including Baltimore. They know you, Larry.
And my dad had an establishment in D.C., and obviously we went to D.C. Stadium.
A very fine restaurant.
Well, it wasn't that fine, but it was a restaurant. I say establishment, someone might think the wrong thing, huh? Said it. So we, obviously we'd go to D.C., then RFK Stadium, and me and my brother would go, and and later with friends, and just never left the area. Went to school here and had a couple of opportunities.
You went to grammar school and high school?
Went to Four Corners Elementary on University Boulevard. It's no longer there. They've got a assisted living home there or something. I went to Sligo Junior High, which is still there on Dennis Avenue, and I went to that fine, the Harvard of the Mid-Atlantic, the University of Maryland.
Well, where did you go to high school?
Northwood High School.
Oh, Northwood.
Silver Spring,
That was
Maryland.
close.
University. Yeah. I skipped that. And in fact, Northwood was closed for a long time because of the lack of enrollment right there, and it's right there. Kent Mill area, right before you get to Kent Mill on University Boulevard, before you get to Wheaton. And Northwood High School was my high school. Still hang out with some of my buddies from back then.
Why didn't you go to Blair?
Well, Blair wasn't there then. In Four Corners, you would have gone
That's
to
right,
Northwood.
Blair was in Silver Spring.
Blair was down Sligo Creek Parkway down there, kind of close to Tacoma Park, right?
Right, that's right.
And so that, of course, now I would have been 2 blocks away. I grew up actually in a house right behind, there's a place called the Corner Pub, which is, if you're from Silver Spring, you know the Corner Pub.
There.
It's still there. It's been through
some
a couple
of the people
ownerships.
are still at the bar.
Yeah, I think some of my whole schoolmates are still there too, to be honest with you. And Fred and Harry's restaurant was there. That was another landmark at the time in Four Corners. So
it's all a big part of our town, Larry. I mean,
it was.
Anybody that grew up here didn't know Four Corners and never left the city.
Yeah.
And I fortunately had a job one time. It took me around to different places. I knew Four Corners and knew Silver Spring, but there wasn't much there. Now, boom. Roads, highways, boom.
Gone up and down a few times. Silver Spring,
God.
downtown Silver Spring. I mean, the Discovery Channel really brought it back. But, going, the church I attended, 2 churches I attended were in D.C. proper, St. Sophia and St. Constantine and Helen. And don't forget the St. Sophia Festival. We want you to come by and check us out. Check out the food. And,
Where is it, on Massachusetts Avenue?
Yes, sir. Right across from St. Albans. We know
Absolutely.
it very well. I mean, I could go there with my eyes closed, really.
They used to bring food. I don't want to big this a WML show. They used to bring food up to Hardin and Weaver.
Great.
The ladies
Chris
from
Zordis.
Zordis did.
Chris Zordis from Courtesy Jeep. You had to know him.
Can't say I know him, but
he was from what was it, baklava they would bring?
Well, you got a sweet tooth then, huh?
Oh yeah, when Hardin and Weaver get to baklava.
That's the sweet pastry type of stuff. But anyway, DC is my home. DC is my home. It is my home. It's always been my home. It is my town.
Well, you conquered your town and ended up at the university, as we call it, Maryland.
Maryland. 5.5 years, Andy. 5.5 years to get out of college. So when I
you were
to
working.
Kids, well, no, I changed my major. A friend of mine said there was a need for people at WMUC, which is the campus radio station above the dining hall. It's still there. It literally changed my life. I was a law enforcement major going to college.
Yeah, I read that. That's amazing.
Didn't have the greatest grades. Back then, Maryland would take you in. I mean, I would not get into Maryland now. Probably couldn't afford to go to Maryland now either. It was like $300 a semester, believe it or not. But they needed help at the radio station, and within a couple 3 weeks, I was at Cole Fieldhouse broadcasting basketball games, which never
on
had
campus.
On campus, closed circuit. What do you call that? Carrier current.
Yeah, closed
radio
circuit.
station, and it's still there.
What a great experience!
Still there, yeah, and it really changed my life. I had to change my major, so it took me a lot longer, and it was some little escapades along the way too.
Sitting in that chair where you are now was Chris Breuer. I don't know whether you knew Chris, but he worked for WMUC too. That's where he got started in the broadcast business.
Yeah, a lot of people have. I support the
boy,
station.
I'm surprised at that.
Try to keep that place up and running. They've had some funding issues over the last few years, so if anybody wants to help a worthy group of broadcaster, it's WMUC.
The University of Maryland campus. Yeah. I know it quite well.
Yeah.
But you got out of the law business and got into broadcasting, thank God. And
thank God.
You did basketball, and then you worked for Channel 2 in Baltimore.
No, not really. My professor, a guy named Professor McCleary, had gotten me an interview at Channel 2 in Baltimore. So I went up there and I interviewed, and it was a job to be the master control director. So you'd sit there almost like in the lobby of the building to punch out, your spot breaks and do this. And I also had, because of a part-time job I had found, I had an opportunity to go on the PGA Tour and cover the PGA Tour. And so one was a real job, one was an adventure. I took that adventure. And that, again... You were working for Channel 2 at the time? No, I never did work for Channel 2. I was still in college, and I had a part-time job at a place called Mutual Radio.
Wow.
And Mutual Radio...
Man, I never knew that.
Mutual Radio was located a block from the White House on 16th Street.
I know Mutual very well.
It's called the World Building. It was there was an Olives restaurant there.
Pan Am Airways on the ground floor.
Exactly right. Way to go. And that's, I take the DC bus. Of course, I took the DC bus, DC Transit bus when I was a little kid to the stadium by myself, but that's a different story. So,
but experience at Mutual was worth a lot, baby, because they had a great network. They didn't get the plaudits, but Mutual was very powerful. Larry King was
there. That's right. Met Sam Huff there for the first time. He did a scoreboard show, and it was a network that had started way back in the 30s. There's a famous picture of Babe Ruth at a Mutual microphone, and all through the years. It was the other network, and it fell on some hard times, and they really came back in the late 70s, early 80s on the strength of sports, and I got there at the right time.
On Mutual, I remember that.
Long time ago, and that kind of evolved back. I ended up doing some fights for them, too.
I never knew that about you and Mutual.
Yeah, there was a guy named Al Wester, who was one of my mentors, along with a guy who wasn't there full-time, but you're going to know this name, Tony Roberts, who was another one of my mentors, and they were in there with Mutual. Tony was the #1 play-by-play guy. He did
Notre Dame football.
Yeah, and Al was a member of the Notre Dame crew, and he was on the golf tour. So I did 20 years of pro golf. As a result of that decision not to go to Channel 2, I did the PGA Championship every year for about 20 years, the Masters, U.S. Open.
What did you miss?
British Open. Never went to the British Open.
Olympics? U.S. Opens?
Bunch of Olympics.
Super Bowl?
Bunch of Olympics. And Olympics got me started in boxing. That's a few years down the road in 92. But the early 80s, the 80s, I really learned the business. I screwed up a lot. I remember Al Wester. I'd come in as an editor, a tape editor, they called it back then, and things have changed. Obviously, we have our beautiful digital editor. I mean, there was tapes, there was razor blades, which, not the kind shave, but the kind of cut tape and little piece of tape, and that's how you did it back then. And so I'd come in
at the bottom, Larry.
At the very bottom.
A great start, though.
And I'd come in, and he'd give me a handful of wire copy. Okay, and again, everybody in this room knows what wire copy is, but there is no there is no such thing as wire copy. Prior to the computers, prior to really electric typewriters, okay, there was a machine that would print out AP News, UPI News, and two copy paper, and you'd rip it and you'd have it, and you never want to be a rip and read guy. If you were a rip and read guy, they considered you lazy because you wouldn't rewrite the copy, right? But I came in one day and Al Wester gave me 5 pieces of copy, get me sound on these. And And one of them was a story about the Baltimore Orioles. I'll never forget it. And I got in there about 7 o'clock in the morning. So about 8 o'clock, he gives me this piece of paper, and it's the Orioles won, and Earl Weaver got kicked out of the game. So, okay, I'm going to find out. I got a magazine, I got a little PR guy, and I found out the hotel they stay at in the road in Anaheim. So I pick up the phone, and I call the hotel in
5
Anaheim.
in the morning?
Yes.
Out there.
And I asked for Earl Weaver's room, and Earl Weaver gets the phone, and I woke him up.
Oh.
And you know what he did with the umps? You've heard those tapes, right? Well, he did that to me on the phone. And then, funny, afterwards, I tell my guy, Al Wester, he goes, you know what? He says, wait a couple hours, call back and apologize. Don't even interview him. Say, call back, Mr. Weaver. I did it. He says, don't worry about it, kid.
I bet he
so
knew
you learn
from
those.
there.
You learn those lessons along the way.
He knew you forever then, didn't he?
Yeah, Al Wester, still around. He's been a big help.
We're going to take a break here. I'm talking to Larry Michael. This is our town, and you got so many great stories. We're going to get more out of you, Larry.
I'm here for you.
Okay, Kevin, for the grand prize of $1 million. What color is the White House?
I know this.
5 seconds.
Oh, switching to Geico could save you a bunch of money on car insurance?
Okay. Judges? That's true, Kevin. They'll allow it. Congratulations. You're a winner.
Woo!
Geico, because saving 15% or more on car insurance is always a great answer.
You're listening to Our Town.
This is Andy Ockershout, and this is Our Town. I'm talking about the early days of Larry Michael. When I listened to him on Westwood One, I didn't know that you were at Mutual then, but I thought the Mutual Network was a great idea because it was Mutual. Everybody participated. It wasn't owned. It was owned by the Mutual. It was people all.
It was non-affiliated stations, right? From the other networks, and they had 500 stations. And Notre Dame football was the big thing.
Tell me about it. Great thing.
And that was really one of the proudest things I ever did. I was on that crew for about 23 years. I did every Lou Holt show. They gave me a national championship ring. Last time they won in '88, they gave the whole crew. And some of the relationships we built there are, to this day, Lou Holtz is one of my favorite guys. And
what a great speaker. I love him.
Yeah, he's got it all.
You're too young to remember Moose Krause.
No, I'm not too young to remember Moose Krause.
He was the color guy.
Moose Krause took me under his wing. He was the AD at Notre Dame.
Absolutely.
And he had the cigar, and he had this deep voice, and he was one of the classiest guys on earth. Interviewed President Bush, the first President Bush there at Notre Dame. So
the guy that did our morning show, named Jim Gibbons, was the play-by-play guy, and Moose was his color guy.
And Jim Gibbons, was he a Redskin play-by-play guy at one time?
Yes,
too?
sir.
Before Steve Gilmore?
He followed Harry Wismer. You don't remember that name. You're too young.
I remember that name.
But they're world-class.
Being young doesn't mean I can't know my history.
That's true. You're smart. You're Greek enough to go back too. You're smart.
Yeah, you got to be a student, don't you?
If you're a student, you're a friend of Jimmy.
I learned a lot from you. Because back at that period of my career, I got a chance to do GW basketball.
Wow,
which was a big thing. I never forget that interview. Mike Jarvis was the head coach. They come off a good year, and a guy named Ed McKee, who was the SID down there, said, "Would you be interested?" And I said, "I don't know. I'll come down and see." And so Mike Jarvis described to me how his previous play-by-play man had left to become a wrestling announcer. and they wanted to have somebody who would, and I did it for about 12, 13 years, and it was great. It's a great experience how you have to do everything yourself back then.
I think the Smith Center is a great venue, too.
I love
that
venue.
little arena.
But in the midst of that, I was associated with the predecessor to CSN HTS, and for 3 years running, very proud of my association with Mr. Ockershausen.
Oh, my.
Doing the Leukemia Lymphoma Society telethon with a guy named David Falk. And what an odd couple this was. David Falk was Michael Jordan's agent in his heyday. Andy was the same guy he is now. And I was just up and coming. And for me to be with Andy, who had great presence, because there's never been a microphone he doesn't like, and David Falk, who brought all the autographed stuff.
Right.
He'd bring all the
auction
stuff. The whole auction was based on David's gifts.
And the great thing, he would get like a Patrick Ewing painting, and we'd sell it. And then he'd say the exclusive. Yeah. And then 20 minutes later, we'd sell the second one. Larry had to sell the second one.
But that got me.
They were good old days.
And that got me. It got me a lot of TV. Believe it or not, that was real important to me, and also got me involved in Leukemia Lymphoma Society, which I'm still in. I've had some personal connections, and now it'll be the 11th year that I'm the honorary chairman of the annual golf tournament. Ryan Kerrigan is my partner, And that was back, and I do remember still the cards they gave us to read, Andy, that if you, the numbers, if you had leukemia in 63, you're 90% a goner. Now you're 90% going to survive.
Isn't that amazing record?
And so it's been
David Nellis. Not Nellis. What was David?
David Timko. And Timko is a living proof.
Isn't it
because
great?
He's been through it a couple times. Great guy. And
he
and
had relapse, remission.
But he's back again.
But you also did, if you remember, Fight Night, which was not.
God.
Why? You know, we used to send that show and they run it in the West Coast. Every sports network, we fed that at no charge. A Fight Night.
You're not going to ask me what happened that one night, are you?
No, we know.
No, okay, I can't tell
but
you.
It was a
I don't
great
want to
event.
talk about that on the air.
People would fight to get tickets to be close to the ringside too.
Well, Sugar
Larry
Ray,
Michaels sitting
we
there
had
ringside.
we had a thing back when I was at Mutual and it became Westwood One. We got into the boxing business then because there's a guy out there who was close to it who I dealt with at the Kemper Open all the time, and he said, "Hey, let's do something." His name is Charles Brotman. And so we ended up being kind of the exclusive network of Sugar Ray Leonard and did special shows with Ray. We'd go to his fights and
did you go to the No Mas fight? Were you there?
I was not there. That was before our relationship. But again, I just emailed Ray. We're the same age, great guy. And as for Brotman, we're down at Palm Beach. Sugar Ray is training for Donnie Lalonde, and I'm playing golf with Mike Traynor, who passed away recently, and Charlie Brotman. And Charlie, not the greatest golfer.
No.
Charlie not the greatest golfer.
But a lot of fun.
Great fun. And he hits the ball, and it barely gets past the men's tees, and it wedges into some brush there in Palm Beach. And he said, "Well, Charlie ain't going to." I said, "Charlie, leave it." He goes, "No, I got to get the ball." Goes, this alligator comes running out of there. You saw Charlie running up onto the golf cart. That golf cart took off, and that's the last ball he looked for in the brush. That golf tournament. So, golf round. So.
I wish we had him here to pin him on that story.
Yeah,
but he's something else.
Yeah.
But he made a real comeback, with the Olympics.
With
the president inauguration.
He's more popular than he's ever been.
Oh, he is. Yeah. And he hates publicity. He hates his right arm.
That's right.
But Larry, you've had such a wonderful, wonderful career with all these people, and you never left town.
Never did.
I always tell people I never left town because nobody ever offered me a job.
Yes.
But I'm sure you got a lot of offers.
I did. I mean, there was a couple chances to move to New York, but as Westwood grew, and the history of that company kind of gets me into the Redskins because the company Infinity Broadcasting merged with Westwood, and a gentleman by the name of Mel Karmazin was in charge, and he wanted to get all of the NFL play-by-play rights. So,
oh yes,
and so in fact, MAL didn't have the rights at that time. To go over the history real quick. MAL had lost it to the sports station. The call letters were TEM probably, but the brand was probably different than what it is now. And then it went to WJFK, which was an Infinity Broadcasting station. And that was where I was hired. My producer, Charlie Broylan, and I were hired the year before they got the rights because that radio station, as you might remember, was Howard Stern, G. Gordon, Liddy Dunham. It was all talk. And we went up and produced the Baltimore Stallions in Baltimore. It was a CFL team.
Right.
The year before JFK got those rights.
They won the championship one year.
They did. And you might know Jim Spiros. Jim Spiros was the owner of the team at the time in Baltimore, and that got us acclimated to producing our own broadcast. We had already done it at Westwood, but that Infinity Broadcasting connection came in there, and we came back, and that's how I got involved with Redskins coverage.
Well, there was another deal in there at WGMS FM.
Right.
And Catherine Malloy
Catherine Malloy came to my office at Westwood. I still got the documents. We kind of scoped out what it would take in D.C., the very original documents, what it would take in D.C. to have a sports talk station. And at the time, baseball was the number one thing on the list because you were modeling yourself after WFN in New York.
Right, the fan.
And they had the Mets. So you go way back. I mean, and it's amazing how that format's
Catherine got the radio rights for, I know she tried to hire Sam and Sonny, and they did, and Frank, and that was way back before Westwood.
Yes.
I don't know who was in that deal.
Yes.
At the GMS.
It wasn't.
570 was an AM station.
I don't think it was the men that owned the rails who owned the station subsequent. I don't think they were the original owners.
John Verstanding was the original owner of WGMS. The FM station had different call letters. What in the world? I'll think of what it was.
But you're right, Catherine Malloy.
FM was the power.
Catherine Malloy was the one who really had the very first idea to have a sports talk station in town, and then she brought some other folks in, and she moved on. But it was her original idea.
GMS was a gold mine. You know that, don't you? Classical.
Yeah.
Cleaned up. So then you're here. You're sitting out here with a new owner, a new station.
Yep.
and a new team. And we're going to be right back and talk to Larry Michael about our town and how important the Redskins and Larry is to our town.
Are you still promising yourself or your spouse to get your will updated and a good basic estate plan in place? Are you finally ready to make sure you don't leave a mess behind for your family to clean up? Give me just 2 hours and I'll show you how. I'm attorney Mike Collins, host of radio's Legally Speaking show. Come to my seminar and I'll teach you what you need to know about wills, trusts, taxes, probate, how to keep your money in your family. Register now at MikeCollins.com and I'll even waive the tuition. That's MikeCollins.com.
Hi, Tony Sybil here to tell everybody about our newest restaurant over off New York Avenue. It's called Ivy City Smokehouse, 1356 Oakey Street Northeast, right next to the Heck Company warehouse. It is terrific, and we have the only seafood smoker in the District of Columbia. So when you go to your grocery stores or your delis, ask for Ivy City products. 202-529-3300 or ivycitysmokehouse.com.
You're listening to Our Town with Andy Ockershausen. Brought to you by Best Bark Communications.
Having a great conversation with Larry Michael. We learned about his illustrious broadcast career and growing up. And one of the things I love about Larry, he loves what he does. He has so much enthusiasm, and it shows, Larry. You know, as all the stuff you go through and been through, you still really care.
I want to grow up to be you. I want to grow up to be you because you have that same. Because when you do something you love, it's not really work, is it?
Oh no.
You're a people guy. I've seen you operate for 30 years now, and you continue to have the same style, albeit a few times. Occasionally you might. I
screw up,
mess somebody up a little bit, but you still have the same style just because you love what you do and you're good at what you do, and that is the key to anybody succeeding. If you love what you do, then odds are you're pretty good at it, and it isn't work, and you put in that extra time because nowadays, attention spans are short. Delivery of radio, audio, TV, video, all this stuff is short, and everybody wants something today. And those who might want to be the next Andy Ockershausen, they don't understand all of the experience that go into being Andy O. So that's really the bottom line. That's the bottom line. You are who you are because of what you've done in your life.
Well, Larry, the thing that, as you point out, and I applaud, I never, ever remember a bad day because I don't have them. I don't accept them. They're gone. If they're gone, that's it. But to watch your career has been great because I know what you've done. And I used to call you, and you know this, out of the blue, and saying that Redskin show you're doing is going to be a big thing for this network.
There are so many times you called me, and I can look back to when I got the play-by-play job. George was a guy for years prior to that. He came out of nowhere to become a mentor to me, and I, watched George Michael on television. I didn't really know him until I got into the Redskin gig, but to have a guy like you calling me to give me advice, you got to be kidding me. And to have George call and tell me when I got the job and I went out to Redskins Park, George met me at the parking lot, and he said, "You got to go talk to Frank. You got to talk to Frank." So I said, "Well, does Frank want to talk to me?" Because I've now got the job that he had for so many years. He goes, "No, you got to do it. You got to do it." So I really didn't know Frank that well, and so I said, "Okay, George, I'll do it." And I walked over, and Frank was incredibly classy, and he, if I can remember the quote correctly, he says, "If you have this job as long as I did, you will be an old man when you're done." Is what he told me. So guys like that who you look up to, and you think about how you might be able to represent the Redskins organization, that that these broadcasts are going to be listened to years down the road, the NFL films and all this. I think it's a special responsibility.
Well, and it's so important to our town that if believe me, I lived through it with the Redskins with the signal. That people would complain to me, and I said, I have nothing to do with it, but we can't
No more
hear.
complaints now.
I know it's going to be great, Larry, and great for the team, too. They don't know that. Bruce Allen knew it when he was here,
everybody
but
knows
the new
it.
people didn't know.
Everybody knows that. The recent news that MAL would be carrying the games, you're talking about Doc Walker, Chris Cooley, yours truly, the Hall of Famer, you do hear, we can't hear you in Gaithersburg. We can't hear you in wherever it might
Annapolis.
be. And so,
you can't hear me in Arundel County.
problem over.
I know.
Problem over.
Now,
and so,
but I think this will be an effect on the team. I really mean that. People who will, there's some chemistry there, Larry, and you got to capitalize on it because it's there. No matter how many bad seasons the Redskins have, the people are going to be there. Every time I see a sellout, I said, I can't believe it, but it is. People will support you, Larry.
The fans are the best in the world, and I can tell you firsthand. When I got hired by the Redskins full time, which was in 2005, to start the TV department, and you, sir, were down the street,
right? And you had your little studio out there,
basically out of the basement.
Absolutely.
And now to look back and to say the show that you mentored me on, and you still say
Nation,
only show that gets ratings. So you get ratings. That's why you're still on the air. How many times have you told me that?
Oh,
I mean, literally hundreds of times. So you get ratings. Don't worry about it. You're getting ratings.
Exactly. That's what counts, Larry.
It's going to be 10 years. It's going to be 10 years this July, which I wasn't hired to do that. It just happened. And the fact that the fans generate content for the show, the fans watch the show, the fans email the show. And
your sponsors love the show. I know that for a fact.
Well,
it's not just a show.
That's how we're on the air. We thank them for the support. We thank them. You got a lot of great sponsors,
and all the good technicians you hired from Comcast.
Yeah, right. But the fact is, there's a fan base out there that wants that material, and now obviously things are changing. The immediacy changes, social media, but Redskins fans love their Redskins content. They just cannot get enough. Thus, the only show of its kind where really devoted to a team 52 weeks a year, every day of the year.
I don't know how you did it, Larry.
Well, sometimes you got to make chicken salad, You know what chicken salad is?
I also looked at your salary one time and said, the man's making $1.75 an hour. He's working 20 hours a day.
I wouldn't be doing this for $1.75 an hour.
Close.
I'll tell you right now. I'm very, very, very thankful for all the people
but you're not paid for what you're worth.
Paid me over the years. Well, you want to give me a raise? Go ahead. I'm very happy.
Modern Maury Povich.
I'm very happy. And the fact is, every year hope springs eternal, and that really is the same thing with the Redskins fans. And this year is a special year. It's the 85th anniversary of the team, and we're back with WMAL, and regardless of how contractual situations, that's never ending in pro sports. That's
right. They're always going to be there.
Fans are going to be there to support this team because that's what this fan base is about.
And Larry, to tell us some of your experiences, you had the unique experience to work with two Hall of Famers that are both not Hall of anything anymore. It happens.
Well, I mean, from the first day I got the job, they took me under their wing and they said, look, we want you to succeed. We like you. And in fact, we did get to be, we still are very, very close friends. I said to myself, I'm never going to go to a game and not have at least 2 meals with this guy. So dinner, breakfast, lunch, every meal. Sonny goes to the stadium 5 hours before the game. I've gone with him 5 hours before the game from the first day I was there because I can't get enough of these guys. And as the years have passed, and Sam's out on the horse farm right now, saw Sam at the alumni weekend. He was happy to get his new Hall of Fame ring. And you know Sonny very well. There's nothing like Bobby Mitchell, Sonny Jurgensen, Sam Huff, talking about Art Monk, Charlie Taylor.
Oh, my God.
I mean, and then you go to the guys that should be in the Hall of Fame, like Pat Fisher, Larry Brown, some of the guys that you and I remember. And the recent guys, like Cooley, is one of my best friends. Spent a lot of time with Cooley.
I thought Cooley, I called Chris out of the blue and said, when he first started that radio, not what he's doing now, I'm talking way back. I said, Chris, I want to tell you something. I really enjoy your radio work.
Right.
You're really, really doing good now.
It's a good analyst.
All I can tell you to do is listen to people and listen. That's just as important as talking.
Does a great job. Doc does a great job. Doc Walker, known him forever, too. And
Janice was his first radio producer. Do you believe that?
She
started Doc Walker.
He should have given you a cut. You hear, Doc? You should have given Janice a cut.
He gives her credit for that all the time. But, Larry, we've got so much wonderful things for you for the fall.
You got any parting gifts?
We'd do anything.
I gave you your parting
gifts is the parting gifts. Thank you so much.
For money.
I appreciate that. It's hand engraved. It's engraved. It's engraved.
Will you please be nice to Schuster on these road trips because he needs recognition?
Schuster wishes he does aspire one day to be Andy Ockershausen. Okay, he does. The body type might be different, and some of the motivations might be different, but the approach is the same. Believe it or not, he's learned a lot from you.
Oh, I know.
Who hasn't learned a lot from you?
I have to beat him up all the time. But Larry,
come on, Eddie.
I'm telling you how happy Janice is. and how happy. And she's not a big radio listener, but she does listen to the Redskins.
Good.
And she knows you, and she knows what you've been through. Now we'll be able to hear
what
the
have I
Redskins
been through? Sounds like I've been through the
in
ringer.
Anne Arundel County.
Well, you know what? It's going to be magic because, as Andy has told me every time he sees me, last time the Redskins went to the Super Bowl, they were on WMAL. And so it has been that long.
5 Super Bowls on
and
WMAL.
So you are now
3 wins.
You are predicting a Super Bowl right here, right now for the Redskins, regardless of the roster.
Year.
No,
take a little time. Take a little time, Larry. Expectations are great. Got to settle all this. There's a lot of distraction in that team now. New coaches. We don't know who's going to be there.
I disagree.
We don't have.
I disagree. When was the last time you were out there? What's the distraction? You had a guy leave. Sean McVay left. You replaced him with a great guy, Matt Kavanaugh. It's not a distraction. I'm there every day.
What else can they say?
There's
if
no
Kavanaugh was so great, they should have fired McVay.
There's no. He didn't get fired.
I know that.
No, I mean, you know what?
He got the job.
He's on the fast track, that kid.
But you're on the inside, Larry.
The distractions come when you have to retool the roster. And the roster is just like, when you graduate high school, you're never going to see half the people you graduate with. And that happens in an NFL locker room.
Oh, absolutely.
The season. How many of these people I'm looking at won't be back, and who's replacing them? That happens for every team.
It happens with the NBA more.
It does, and the Wizards are doing great right now.
Aren't they doing great?
They are.
But Larry, do accept how much we appreciate you, and if Janice appreciates you, she's the one that is the big fan. She knows football. But anyway, when I found out you're a friend of Mochavitas, that changed my opinion of you.
For the better or for the worse?
No, neutral.
Oh, okay. The way you said
Jimmy's
that.
not in good health. Did you know that?
Jimmy's up there in age. Great guy.
Yeah, I know. He's a friend of Spanos. So he used to go to San Diego games all the time.
The senior Spanos.
Yeah, Dean. No, Dean's a fun. The old man.
The old man. He's still around, too.
Yeah. I think the old man died. Did he not? The kid runs the team now.
Kid runs the team. I think the old man still lives.
But I know he was a good friend of Jimmy's. But good luck to you this fall.
Thanks,
we'll
man.
Be listening. And
are you going to show up unexpectedly?
All your
experience
to the booth? Is going to show up on these broadcasts.
Are you going to show up unexpected again? You do it every year, a couple of times a year. Now, because of your former association, I guess still association with this radio station.
Absolutely.
You will feel even more entitled to walk in and pretend like you own the place.
Well, the booth. We used to pay to redecorate the booth. Now this time we get that free. Why they moved you, I would never have put up with that.
They sold the booth.
Well, don't
You're
do it.
a money guy. You're a sales guy. You know how that goes.
No. They wanted to do that to RFK. I wouldn't let them do it. We had a big fight with him.
So do you still have 25-year-old WMAL Redskins shirts?
Yes.
You still do?
Yes, do. And so do some of our guests and some of our friends.
Are those authorized? Are those authorized with the official clothier?
Yours said,
Janice's.
I am a WMAL Redskin fan. It's a button.
Is it Nike, though? It has to be Nike for it to be legit.
Those things will live forever.
I know.
So will you.
You probably. Thank you, buddy. Thank you.
But Larry, you've been through it. What else can you possibly do in sports you haven't done?
Super Bowl with the Redskins.
There you go.
I've never done a Super Bowl. That would be it. That would be the one.
Give me a prediction, Jenny. How many years for the Super Bowl?
Confident Larry knows what he's talking about, so I'm going to say 2017.
Wow. I'm only saying that because of WML being on board.
Right. It takes more than that, Larry.
Yeah. Well, you know what, though? Here's the bottom line. 2 years in a row with the winning team. I like Jay Gruden. I really like Jay Gruden. He has grown into that position. He commands the respect, and also he's close with the players. I mean, in a couple of different ways. They've got a lot of talent. Offensive line looks good. Need to bolster the defense. You got a quarterback who can win. Can he win the Super Bowl? Let's give him a chance. And you might recall back in the day, it was a different quarterback every year. It was a different running back every year. That offensive line was the constant. So the perfect scenario here would be the Redskins go to the Super Bowl in 2017, which would mean 2018. And the day before the game is played, we get word that Joe Jacoby is going into the Hall of Fame.
Would that be a doubleheader?
That would be the weekend that you'd never forget.
You know, I have my own reasons why Jake didn't get in, and it has to do with the presenter. I won't go into that now. But he should be in, slam dunk. Now, he has another shot at it, correct, next year?
One more before he's,
before
pushed over
to
into senior. I do want to have you on the air so you can, continue on what you don't want to talk about. There's a couple times during this you've said you don't want to talk about something, and I do want you to talk about that, but in a different venue because we want to save some of the ratings for a different time.
Larry, you're the greatest, and what you have done is incredible, and your career has been fabulous, and you bring so much enthusiasm, and that's what it's all about. You really like what you do. It shows in your broadcast. It shows in your voice. Every time I see you, you're up.
Thanks, man. I'm like you. I mean, every day is a chance to do something
Isn't that
great,
the best, baby?
Every day is a chance to do something great. That's the way I look at it.
You know, I got a personal email from Bruce Allen to tell me to tune in because the announcement was going to be made. I was very flattered, but he could have told me on the phone, so I didn't have to listen.
Did you hear what happened during that interview? I got on there, and now Larry are going to do a Redskins.
Larry was here, though, wasn't he?
Yeah, Larry's already here. He does the afternoons here.
Yeah, but
Larry O'Connor.
But Bruce was here.
Bruce was here. I came too. So Bruce did a segment, then I came on a segment, and then we kind of agreed on the air that Larry and I would do the Larry and Larry tailgating tips. So
I didn't hear that.
That'd be good. Is that a good idea? You're a guy that knows good ideas.
Well, you could. This will help his ratings, though, having you on the air with him.
I just, hey,
because you can promote it on NBC UNI.
Put on Redskins
Larry
Nation.
Michaels, you are a jewel, and thank you so
buddy.
much for being on our town.
Your town is my town, my friend.
Larry Michael,
Thanks,
the voice of the Washington Redskins.
You've been listening to Our Town, Season 2, presented by Geico, our hometown favorite, with your host, Andy Ockershausen. New Our Town episodes are released each Tuesday and Thursday. Drop us a line with your comments or suggestions. See us on Facebook or visit our website at ourtowndc.com. Our special thanks to Ken Hunter, our technical director, and WMAL Radio in Washington, D.C. for hosting our podcast. And thanks to Geico. 15 minutes can save you 15% or more on car insurance.